Welcome to the ID Club Saturday morning coffee show, and Jack is still on vacation, so I am joined by the next best thing. It is my coworker from 1620 The Zone, Matt McMaster. We have talked on the air almost every day over the last week and a half, and we're going to do it again tomorrow, but we're also going to do it today on the Saturday morning coffee show. Matt makes his I-80 Club debut. Hello, Matt.
We've gotten to know each other, haven't we?
We have. We have talked a ton over the last couple of, not last couple of days, last couple of weeks, and we've had a really good time. People are already curious about, are you going to join the Discord? You already did. Your name is Slickpot. As here we go. DZ says Slickpot. Him and Banks rolling doobies. Is the Discord name in reference to drugs, Matt?
No. I played a lot of Among Us. Do you know what Among Us is?
No.
It's a video game and where it's like a big group video game. You play with like 10 to 15 people.
Okay.
And you have to, it's basically Wolf. There's 10 players. 2 of them are the assassins. The other 8 crewmates have to find out who the assassins are. Okay. It's a really fun game. And I used to join, like, there was a moment in time where I didn't consistently know enough people to play the game. So I joined Discord to like enter in lobbies to play with like random people because you have to be able to like talk during the game. So I don't know why I chose Slickpot. I think I was just trying to be different. I was just trying to like, what are 2 words I can combine? That's my name. No, there's no meaning behind it. I don't really smoke or anything like that either. So
yeah, or anything really like that. Nice.
If it makes me look edgy because I may or may not do pot based on my Discord name, I'll take it.
I think it's making you seem young and me seem old. Matt writes, Slickpot is definitely a young. Fight writes, Josh is an old who doesn't know what Among Us is.
Yes.
And Keena says, my tween niece loves Among Us. So there you go, Matt. You're being compared to the tween nieces of our subscribers.
It's a great game. And if you like go and you would never play it. But do you play video games? Are you even a video game human?
Okay. I used to be. My most recent system is a PlayStation 3 that I bought in 2008. So
were you a big NCAA?
I was on the old PS2. I didn't like the UI on the PS3, so I stopped playing it. And then the game obviously stopped for many, many years. I was a Call of Duty guy, and in honor of your hat, I was a big Tiger Woods guy. My college roommates and I would get drunk and play Tiger Woods until like 2 a.m.
That game just came out, the new one on the PS5, and I just can't get with it. I play a lot of video games still, though.
Matt, I just saw a commercial for that yesterday, and I didn't realize that it was a 2K5 game now instead of a EA Sports game, and it didn't look as good, honestly.
It's okay. I don't know. I think like that game for me, there was like the novelty of it coming out and playing it and but then like after 3 weeks, I was kind of satisfied. I was just like, meh. And then one day I got really mad playing it because I was playing bad. And you'll have those video games where you're like, this is not worth it. Like, this is not worth me being so pissed off about. Like, it's just like the reward here is not worth the risk. So then I stopped playing it. I play a lot of Star Wars Battlefront.
Oh, there you go.
That's my game.
I tried to get you to watch Andor when we were at the College World Series last week.
I'll watch Andor.
If we can make it happen.
I'll watch Andor eventually. It's just I really don't have – I don't know. I go through these phases where I really don't have an interest in starting new shows and like binging shows or everything like that. I know some.
You're a sports guy. All you do is watch sports.
It's not even that.
You got Omaha Mavs basketball to watch on a February night.
Yes, I mean during the college basketball season it was great. But I mean right now would be a good time for me to like do shows and catch up on shows and whatnot. But I'd honestly rather go back to YouTube and just rewatch like highlights of like seasons that I liked
or Matt, maybe you pop on the Groin Kick Chronicles.
Oh, what a segue.
And you check out the podcast. If you missed it as we get into today's Saturday morning coffee show, a couple things. We're going to talk about one of my recent columns that has come out since the last time Jack and I did a live podcast. Matt and I have had it on our College World Series show prep sheets for like
forever.
5-6 days. And so we're finally going to get into it today because it sounds like we actually might have a lot of agreement. So we'll try to make it interesting there. So we're going to do that. Maybe some other stuff as well. But the Groin Kick Chronicles did debut. This is a free show. So if you're hanging out with us live on YouTube, we would love to have you join us. Like and subscribe at the very least to our YouTube page here at I-80 Club on YouTube. Or if you want more from us, patreon.com/I-80 Club. We're going to have bonus episodes surrounding the Chronicles. We have Volleyball State with us. They actually just put out a bonus episode recently as well. They've been doing newsletters about once a month throughout the offseason, and I imagine that there's going to be even more stuff as we get close to the season. Yeah, dude, it's awesome.
Incredible.
Oh, thank you.
No,
thank you. So,
they're enjoyable. I'm not a volleyball guy, okay? Wow, That's not a really good way to lead it off. I enjoy Nebraska volleyball. I know who the players are and everything like that. Volleyball, not my top sport. I listen to a volleyball podcast now. That's kind of crazy to me. You told me that like 4 years ago, you'd be listening to a volleyball podcast. It'd be wild. Credit to these guys.
And they do a great job, Jeff and Lincoln. They just put out a new episode for free earlier this week, so you can get that wherever you subscribe to Volleyball State. But yeah, we would love to have you. Patreon.com/I-80 Club, as low as $5 a month. All sorts of stuff available for you there. We will be doing all sorts of pods surrounding the Chronicles, including Be Kind Husker Rewind losses, which will just be a wonderful experience. Keena, Matt is the first to notice. Is Matt using a Koozie as a windscreen?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. Matt reached out to me last night. I was on my couch, and he says, hey, can we do a mic test? Which, Matt, shout out to you. You are the first person that has filled in on this podcast to ever say, can we do a mic check the day before? No one has ever done it 5 seconds before the podcast. So shout out to you. You're a professional. And then you pop your peas, as everybody who listened to the famed Big Red overreaction from December knows. That Yeti of yours is a little too hot. So you put you don't have a windscreen, and so you put a Koozie over it.
It's working.
It is.
Works.
You sound way better.
I sound so much better. So, yeah, is it weird? Is it unconventional? Would a lot of people do it? No. But does it get the job done? Absolutely, yes. Probably a microcosm of who I am. So it works. And it's a shout out our fan, Kellyanne. It's her pink bandana volleyball thing, Koozie. So there you go.
Nice. And then people are wondering, are you having a McGriddle? Is that what's for breakfast today?
Yeah, it's a bacon, egg, and cheese McGriddle. And this is an iced caramel coffee, which how much do you think a large iced caramel coffee costs?
So it's either going to be higher or lower than I expected. I'm going to say that I think your tone says it's actually lower than expected. $1.99.
It was $2.50.
Wow, yeah, that's way cheaper than I would have guessed.
Dude, I'll take it. But the McGriddle was $7.
Oh my gosh! Did you get Did you get a potato cake at the very least?
No, because I would have been broke. I would have had to take out a loan if I wanted to get potato cakes. Which I'm having a throat voice thing right now, and just like the greasy potato cake, I just feel like would absolutely not help what's going on in the vocal cord section. So we're just iced coffee and McGriddle. So
Jordan wants to know any Powerade in that coffee. Yeah, have you mixed it in yet?
No, that was just me going stir crazy and just like trying to find ways to keep myself awake and moving. And pouring Powerade and coffee, I guess, was my idea. And I wanted to make Happer laugh. So we banged out a 2-for-1 there.
Yeah, well, it certainly made me laugh as well. All right, let's get into this. So we have had, as you mentioned a couple seconds ago, we've had this circled on our prep sheet for a week and a half almost. I mean, it's been almost since day one. You mentioned this to me off air. Said, hey, let's talk about the column that you did, Reasons to Doubt Nebraska Football,
it's a great
going into 2025. Thank you. You can read it at HuskerMax.com. And so this was in response to the positive column that I had written a few weeks before. And Jack and I have already discussed that one, but we've not had a chance to dive in to this one. Do you want to just go bullet point by bullet point? I put 5 reasons out there. Should we just start with one and work our way down?
Yeah, let's do that. I think that's the best way of attacking this here. Because
all right, perfect.
I have there's not one of those things that I don't have thoughts on. Because I think and the reason why I told you it's a great article is I think you can have a legitimate discussion about every single one of them. Because there are articles that are written like this before, and they're like, you read the topic and you're like, yeah, like clearly, like obviously that's gonna be a problem. Like they don't know who their quarterback is going to be, right? But like these points are are kind of like you can honestly make an argument for some of these as like, well, we shouldn't be that worried. So let's just go one by one.
All right, perfect. And along those lines, before we get into it, I like how you said it, because one of the things that I realized as I was writing it was, I like that the answer to all of the concerns could also be, but maybe it'll be fine.
Yes.
You know, because sometimes you can't say that, right? Like you just said something like, who is the quarterback going to be? Like if you're a Giants fan right now, you know, in the NFL, like you're not really feeling good no matter, like the quarterback is a question, and I don't think that the answer is also going to be an answer in the affirmative, where it could be for Nebraska.
Perfect example. There is no universe where you're a Giants fan and you're like feeling great. You know, you're like, this is going to go well.
You're not talking yourself into anything, right? Whereas I think Nebraska fans, of the 5 things, I think you can talk yourself into all of them.
You can talk yourself into being optimistic about it, for sure. Where it's like, if you're the Baltimore Ravens and you're talking about like your wide receiver position, you're like, I don't know, man. Like, it's Zay Flowers, and it's like, let's figure everything else out, right? Like, it's just one of those things. So I think if we want to get started, like this is, I think your first one is the best one in terms of you can talk yourself into it.
Yeah. So the first one, and I'll put this real quick in the Discord server if anybody wants to follow along. Bullet point number 1: are we sure Dylan Raiola can take the next step? Not to just quote myself, I wrote, "This is the question, right?" I mean, it is though. It's the quarterback. It's the most important position in all of sports. Last year it's so interesting, Matt. And I broke it down in the column. You break his season into thirds, into 3 separate things. You look at the first part of the season, which culminates in the loss to Illinois, 72% completion percentage, almost 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He gets sacked on almost every play of overtime. And then you look at the next 3 games, his completion percentage dropped by 13%. He had 2 touchdowns. He threw 6 interceptions versus Rutgers, Indiana, and Ohio State. In those games in particular, he threw 0 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So in the next 5 games, completion percentage drops. And then in the final 4 games, it hops again above 70% completion percentage. Only 3 touchdowns versus 3 interceptions. And of course, that is when Dana Holgorsen steps up. So if they're going to be good, if they're going to take the next step, it is going to be in large part because of what Dylan Raiola is able to do. Like I guess, Matt, the way I've described before you go is, I don't see him putting up the same numbers he had last year.
No.
And the football team going 9-3. If they're going to go 9-3, his numbers are going to get a whole lot better.
It's an optics thing, isn't it, too? In terms of if he doesn't make the next step, it looks bad for the staff. It looks bad for Matt Rule. It looks bad for Glenn Thomas. It looks bad for Dana Holgorsen, to the point where, in my opinion, you have people questioning the ability for Nebraska in this iteration of Nebraska if they can develop a quarterback. So it pushes more for me, just like, oh, can Dylan get good and can they win games? It's also this staff. Matt Rule was hired by Trev Alberts in part because of his player development, because he is known as a guy who can make guys better. Here is your ultimate opportunity. Here's your best prospect. Here's a guy that Nebraska probably under Matt Rule will never get anybody as talented as Dylan Raiola. Like, that's the type of prospect he is. So if they're not able to develop him and get him to make the next step, I think you start to question some of the validity of why Matt Rule was hired. I really do. Yeah. I think it's more than just, oh, can he be better and can they just get more wins, which is like a big part of that. But here is your shiny gold diamond prospect. Can he take the next step? Can the things that you tell him to do, can he execute them? And can that turn into better play?
Yeah, everything hinges on him. A couple comments. Husker for MU on our Discord server says, "Who boy, if Dylan doesn't improve, it's going to get grim. I'm confident he'll get better, though. Holgo experience more svelte." D'Lo says, "If he puts up the same numbers, we will be home for Christmas." And Matt writes, "A lot of that will be on the receivers." We just watched, we rewatched recently for Be Kind Husker on the 24 Colorado game, and Matt writes, "There was a huge pass drop by Lloyd. Wide receivers need to catch the ball. Quarterback shouldn't have to be millimeter perfect." And so obviously, Matt, when we talk about the quarterback, we're talking about everything else too. The new offensive coordinator, the wide receivers, how good or bad is the run game? How much protection is he getting with the offensive line? But if all of those other things work at an above average level around him, it is still going to come down to how well he performs. And I can't wait to see what that looks like.
It's his processing. Just get the ball out. Like, that's what
Yeah.
I want to see. I want, like, 5-step drop, bang. Quick drop, bang. Like, it's funny. The Baby Gronk interview. Did you see that?
No.
Where Oscar Jacobson asked Baby Gronk, "Hey, what do you like about Dylan Raiola?" And Baby Gronk goes, "I like how he moves." And I immediately, like, I have the phone in front of my face, and I go, "I don't." I'm like, I don't like how Dylan Raiola moves at all. Like,
that might be the most positive thing anybody has ever said about his movement.
Yeah, I like how he does it. I do not. He needs to be better at moving. He needs to be better at maneuvering the pocket and even scrambling in the pocket. So I think with Dylan, it's just like, man, the arm is so good. I mean, his ability to just rifle things into spots is great. And I do think his short to medium accuracy doesn't get as much credit as maybe as it deserves. He's got to hit the long ball, though. Like that Ohio State game, there were too many times where he just missed the long ball. And just throughout the entirety of the season, there was just too many times where, like the play that will always haunt me is the Lyndon Meyer overthrow in the end zone against Illinois. Like that is – talk about –
What happens to the season, Matt, if they complete that pass?
I couldn't tell you. I really could not tell you what the season looks like if they win that game, because they still lose to Indiana. But I think more you could definitely like pawn off the Indiana more as of like, hey, bad day. This is still a really good team. They went to a hot team's place and they got their butts whooped, whatever. And
things went sideways early and it just kind of, snowballed on them.
Yeah, exactly. Because after they lost the Illinois game, you're like, damn it. Like, what are we doing here? Like, is this team really for real? And then the Indiana game made you think, all right, this team's a fraud, right? So I think, though, Dylan taking the next step, there definitely is more of a reason to think it'll happen than it not happening. But it still needs to happen,
So let's do this. Let's do this on each of these points. Let's do like a 1 to 10 scale on like your level of confidence then that it is answered in the affirmative, which would be a 10. Like a 10 would be Dylan not only answers the questions, he's an all-conference caliber quarterback, and you can apply that number to every bullet point. Number 1 would be, that'd be regression and doesn't answer the question at all. How confident are you that he answers the question in the affirmative on a 1 to 10 scale?
7.
Yeah? I think I'm probably at a 6.
I think the one thing that would maybe push me back to the 6 is that he doesn't have a great skill position player. Dane Key's really good, guys, okay? But there's
Barney.
And Barney's really good. But there's a difference between being good and being a Emeka Egbuka, or being, like Jackson Smith and Jigba, or one of these Elijah Surratt.
Jeremiah Smith.
Like there's levels, right? And those guys are there.
Good.
They're at the really good, but they're not at the holy crap, Carnell Tate might go in the first round this year. So, and I think EJ's good. I think EJ's there too. Like, I think everything on that offense is that. Like, it's good.
We like all of it, right? Don't you like a lot of pieces, but you don't? Do you love any pieces?
I don't love one piece on that offense.
Correct. Barney is the closest that I can get to saying I love what they have there.
But that's it. I worry about Barney and the thing I worry about Barney with, it was just a lot of short to intermediate passes, and there weren't a lot of times where you saw him truly stretch the field.
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
fair.
afraid that if he doesn't add that to his repertoire, he's not going to progress as much as we hope. That maybe his floor is higher than his ceiling.
Well, isn't it interesting, Matt? Like, look at his yards per reception. Like, for how we talk about him, you would say, I don't know, 13, 14 yards per catch. He had 8.1. He only had 3 games last year where he had above 10 yards a carry or a catch. Yeah. And one of them was the first game when he had 1 catch for 10 yards. The other was UCLA, 4 catches for 78 yards. And then the Purdue game, which I skipped it a second ago, but that was only 2 catches for 28 yards. So, like, as explosive as he is, and he averaged 13 yards a carry on 10 carries. Like, they just never got him the ball in position where he was either flying down the field or was able to catch the ball in space and pick up yards that were in front of him. give him easy yards rather than, a flare route, a screen pass, whatever, where
or
he's
just,
suddenly.
Or just a slow mesh. The amount of times they just did slow mesh with him where they were just like, all right, we'll rub off the tight end. We'll have him come across. We'll dump it off to him, and he'll just go that way. Or like there was getting to a point where they were doing the against Purdue where you're like, is jet sweep the only thing that you have for this guy? Is this the only thing you want to call for him? So if he's going to reach a very high ceiling and be an electric football player, he needs to stretch the field. And it's not that I doubt that he'll be able to do that. It's just it's a lot of this team. I haven't seen it. Sure. You just haven't seen it.
One more before we move on, Matt, or Dave Fight says, counterpoint, Barney could see a jump working with a real wide receiver coach instead of a future mortgage lender.
Oh, so I think Garrett McGuire. I'm not going to stand on the soapbox for Garrett McGuire and say that he was like this great, incredible coach or everything. He definitely had his shortcomings, but he was not as bad as maybe people make him out to be, in my opinion.
Interesting. All right.
Well, he's probably their best recruiter. I mean, you look at the guys that he was able to recruit in that wide receiver room. Like, now Mosey came because of his dad, but Mills, that was one. I mean, Cortez Mills might be, if you're like making a list of candidates outside of Dylan who could be a first-round draft pick, Cortez Mills could be one of them, just in terms of like how he's built and how he runs. And like, he got Barney too. So, I don't know. There's my case for Garrett McGuire. He's better.
All right, perfect. Moving on. Next point, I wrote about John Butler taking over the defense. How much regression should be baked into the defensive cake? And so a couple of numbers before we dive into this discussion. Bill Connolly, his SP Plus at the end of 23, Nebraska's defense was ranked 6th. Last year, it was 12th. So still really, really good. I think that it was noticeable that they were worse, though. I thought their tackling was worse. It's interesting, Matt. Like, remember going into last season, a lot of the conversation was about the sack numbers. And even though they played one more game, they had 2 fewer sacks. It went from 32 to 30. And a lot of that happened in the first half of the season. 20 sacks through the first 6 games. And then after that, they really, really struggled at getting to the quarterback. And then you have John Butler, who takes over, and he has only had 1 year as a coordinator at the college level. And I went back and I looked at some SP Plus numbers around that Penn State era.
Oh,
that team finished 35th in SP Plus. But you look at the years beforehand, 7th and 16th. The years after, 10th and 16th. Like, so his was like this one kind of outlier year where they just were a little bit worse. But then, okay, let's turn to the positive. I do what I can. Phil Snow takes over, or not takes over, but he's involved. I think that is certainly a positive. I like some of the young pieces. Can they create more splash plays on this defense? And one more thing, and I don't mean to jump from analytics to analytics, but Kelly Ford yesterday, he was putting up offenses that opposing defenses will face in terms of difficulty. And Nebraska's schedule on paper, their defense is going to face offenses averaging 80th best in the country this year. So, okay, hey, maybe the defense takes a bit of a step back, but the offenses that are going to play on paper are not going to be very good. And so that could end up being a big positive. So that's bullet point number 2. It's just, how concerned are we at the defensive side of the ball?
So you watch a lot of Philadelphia Eagle football.
Sadly.
So we're now in an era of defense where nickel is no longer a package. Nickel is like a default, essentially.
Yeah.
And the idea is that you just want as many athletic and fast guys on the field to cover as much grass and to be, just as multiple as you possibly can to match the changing athleticism and creativity we've seen on offenses. And this is from college to the NFL. And when you do that, when you get smaller on the secondary and smaller in your linebackers, you need the residual beef up front to handle that, which is why you see the Eagles have, Milton and Jalen Carter and Davis and these just massive behemoth men, right? Because when you have smaller linebackers, you got to make sure that the offensive line can't shed off the defensive line and get to the second level, okay? I'm worried about that with this defense. I'm worried that they don't have the length and just the beef up front, because I do think they're athletic in the secondary. I love Vincent Shavers. I love Willis McGahee. I really, really like Marquise Watson-Trent, the pickup from Georgia Southern.
Yeah, me too. Sierra Wright.
I like the secondary, where the secondary is young and is athletic, but you still have some veteran leadership in Hartzog and Singleton, right? But I don't like any of those guys' chance against a 6'6", 330-pound, pulling guard. Okay, I mean, they're all.
Yeah,
they're
D'Lo
all
says I'm worried they will struggle to stop the run.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at. Like this D line, this Riley Van Poppel, Cam Linhart, Elijah Judy, Jalen George, Keona Davis, like. These are guys who have played football, but they have been in the shadow of Ty Robinson and Nash Huntmaker, who played a lot of football last year. Like Ty Robinson was averaging a lot of snaps last year. So I think my concerns are less so with Butler and more so with this defense was at its best when the D-line was playing well. And I think when they lost that Ohio State game, that D-line wasn't playing well in the fourth quarter. They weren't getting that push, and they were able, with Will Howard, able to march down the field and score and end up winning that game. So I think this is another one too. We'll get to another point that is kind of baked into this, but that D-line freaks me out. A
couple things. Third downs. So last year, this is actually an area where they improved from 23 to 24. They went from 45th to 31st. Can that number climb a little bit higher in terms of getting off the field? Because that was the huge issue with 23. I mean, how many more wins, Matt, does Matt Rule's first team have if that number is actually 31st like it was last year? They're picking up at least one, maybe two.
When you saw that 31st number, were you kind of surprised?
I was very much surprised.
I was
very much surprised. Yeah.
And I started doubting my eyes. Because I was like, my eyes tell me this team is bad at getting off the field in third down. Like my eyes tell me that there are way too many times where it was 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 11, and the other team was able to make a big play and continue the drive going. And then I looked at that number and I go, this indicates that they were actually in the top quarter in the country and doing it. And so I doubted it until Butler and Snow and Rule all got to the mic and were like, no, we even recognize that we need to get better at this. Because I think the mood would have been different if Butler or Snow got to stand and was like, well, actually, if you look at our numbers are pretty good on third down, right? Where instead they were like, no.
We got to get better.
We got to get better.
Well, you know what, Matt? I think why you kind of doubt the numbers is that in the games where it went sideways, I'm talking about Illinois, 7 of 13. Sure. I'm talking about even Purdue, 7 of 15. Indiana, the game that you brought up a few minutes ago. How about this? First of all, they only had 9 third down attempts, which is hysterical.
That's crazy.
They completed 5 of them. UCLA, USC both went 6 of 13, and even Boston College went 6 of 12. So you're talking about 6 games, 6 of 13 games, where the team hovered at 46.15% or better. If you look at the season, 46% would be 121st in the country. So all that to say, when it was bad, in half of the season, their third down defense was the worst in the country. But otherwise, it was really, really good. And so, and I use this as a way to almost enter back into the sack conversation. Can they have games where can they just spread the love a little bit more? Instead of having 6 sacks 2 times and then 2 in another few games, can you get 3 or 4 every single game as you do this?
It's funny. They were a good defense, all right? They were a good defense. But they really were inconsistent, which is really funny to say. Where it's like the defense was really good at not letting points on the board. I've always that was my thing with Tony White. I was like, there are times where I questioned some of the calls and I questioned some of the blitzes. And I mean, when Ohio State was able to get Jeremiah Smith lined up with Isaac Gifford, I was like, what are we doing here? There were some of those moments, but then there were moments too where you're like, damn, what would they do? What would they do without this team? Or what would they do without this defense? What would they do without this coach? So I just think that the red zone, also too, the red zone percentages have to get better. The third downs have to get better. But I just think, I'll just end it right here.
Okay.
Nash Huntmaker and Ty Robinson are leaving a hole that I don't think we can realistically believe Cam Linhart and Riley Van Poppel can fill immediately. can they fill it down the line? Like, can they get better to where, like, week 8, week 9, week 10, you're like, oh, wow, okay, they've taken big steps and they're playing, up to that level of football? Sure. But right away, no. I mean, it's just they've played football, but they haven't played enough to where, and I haven't seen enough to where I'm like, all right, these guys are for sure going to come in and, like, fill the gap. Right now, It's great for 2026 because you're hoping that those two guys are like, this is going to be their ship to ride along with Judy and George. And then in 2026, they're like, all right, this is the year where, like, these guys have to prove that they can, like, play at the next level. But for right now, it's just that defense was so Robinson reliant and Hutmaker reliant that.
I know those guys are gone.
And now they're gone.
1 to 10 scale.
4.
Yeah, it's funny. John, we were talking about this yesterday. John thinks the defense is in for a huge regression. I think they're going to regress. I think that I think
it could get bad.
You think so? Bad? Wow.
I think it could get really bad.
The argument that I'll throw your way before we move on is just because I'm going to go with a 6 again. You know what? I'll go with a 5. I think it's just Matt Rule's defenses are good. His teams do have good defenses. And so, like, do they lean on their strengths? Like, the strength of the last couple of years was the line. Now that's not the strength. What can that mean for the way that the defense plays? And so, like, dude, the thing that I keep coming back to is one of the last things I wrote about. Can they create more splash plays? They were 45th best in the country in sacks, 40th best in the country in tackles for loss, 67th in total takeaways. Like, if you like those numbers just being a tick higher, and especially the last one, dude, they need to take the ball away from teams, and that would just change everything around them.
They lost 24 and a half sacks from last year to this year. That's a lot. That is that's so much. That's so many sacks. And it's like, who's filling that gap? Mm-hmm. Right? Are we really just going to pin it on to freshmen and McGahee and Winery? And you're just going to be like, all right, boys, go out and get it?
That's the first mention of Williams Winery, by the way. Like, we're 10 minutes into this discussion, and we haven't mentioned that guy.
And then also, too, it's like people are confident about the secondary, and I kind of got into it with Sipple a little bit about this. Like, I like Caleb Benning. I like Donovan Jones. They played one game last year.
Yeah, you're asking a lot.
So to be like, hey, they got these two guys. Like, guys, this is how we've gotten ourselves in trouble over the last couple of years, is we see it once and we're like, all right, there it is.
It's fixed.
Like, it's fit. No, like, they're good young players, but I don't know if you can just be like, yeah, they're going to be really good this year. They're going to go through some struggles. Like, that's just what happens to young players. Sip brought up Amari Sanders. I'm like, Amari Sanders is a freshman, right? Like, I don't know if we can fully trust that. Here's another thing too. Like, Sierra Wright, I hear his name getting, like, bounced around a lot. I think Sierra Wright is good, but it's not like Sierra Wright was awesome and incredible and great. Like, that's the next, and we'll just move to the next point. There's no one great. There's nobody great.
I was going to say this whole conversation is perfect because it leads into my third bullet point, and this is all encompassing because I write, are there difference makers on offense or defense? And we have essentially hit on this at various points throughout the podcast so far, because on defense, you just named a variety of players. We talked about it a few minutes ago. On the offensive side of the ball, we like Emmett Johnson. We like Ja'Cory Barney. We think Dane Key is going to be good. We haven't mentioned Isaiah Hunter yet today. As I wrote, intrigue of Heinrich Harburg playing at tight end. I'm not going to bring up Quentin Ives. I know some people would. Like, there are all sorts of dudes that could be really, really interesting. But, like, difference makers, game changers. Do they have any of those on either side of the ball? It's just, it really, like, Matt, one of the things that people will say sometimes about, like, a television show is that, like, maybe the individual episodes aren't really good, but wow, like, the whole season, it builds on top of each other, right? Like, that, if this team is going to be good, it's going to be that. It's not going to be, whoa, look at this guy and this guy, that guy. They don't have a Trey Palmer on the field. They certainly don't have an Amir Abdullah on the field. Do they have a Divine Azigbo? I think so. I think Emmett Johnson can be Divine Azigbo in 2018. Yeah. I think he can be a 1,000-yard guy, but, like, is that good enough for what they need?
So Peter in the comments writes, and this is on StreamYard, He goes, I disagree about the defense. I believe you're worrying too much. Also, a good offense will help the defense. Also, if the special teams improves, that can only help. And the thing is, Peter, and I think Peter has a good point. Like, I am worrying, right? But that is the problem, is that I have the ability to worry because I don't know, right? This is like choosing, do you want to be I could totally choose to be optimistic and say, hey, they got some young pieces. They look good at practice. They're confident in what they have. You know, I think this is going to be great for Van Poppel and Lenhart because they're going to get a ton of snaps and they're going to be able to prove that they're talented. Like, I can make a case for being confident that this defense could be at the same level or even better for next year. I could also make the same case that it's like, I don't know if these guys haven't proven that they're great or that they can do that. And like, that is the problem. You don't have a preseason all Big Ten guy on this team. You don't. You don't
as D'Lo says, no opposing coordinators are circling one specific dude in prep week.
No. And you don't have an All-American, and you don't have a guy where you're like, you know what, at the end of the day, if everything else doesn't go well, we can trust that this can happen, right? Minnesota football had, all these different things that they had to battle through on offense. But at the end of the day, they could just be like, we're going to put this ball in Mo Ibrahim's stomach, and he is going to run. And we are going to have a chance at winning a game every single time we play because we can do that. Nebraska doesn't have that. Now, can Nebraska develop that is the question. And I think there are guys on this team who you can say, yes, he can. Dylan can totally develop into be a game changer. Shavers, McGahee, Dane Key. Like, those are four guys immediately, I think, hey, they could take the next step to being in that level. Maybe you even look on the offensive line where you're like, Elijah Pritchett is one hell of a prospect. I mean, I saw a first-round mock draft for the guy, like a couple months ago because he's just a freak. Maybe he develops into the tackle that Alabama thought he could be. Like, you have that potential, but you don't have it. You don't know it. And that is that's nerve-wracking. It's a nerve-wracking place to be.
Yeah. Husker from you in the Discord says, what's the status of Carter Nelson? Don't hear a damn thing. There's been differing reports and I guess concern levels, Matt, about his injury, his recovery rather from the surgery and what we're kind of looking at in terms of just raw recovery time. There's some that are like, yeesh, good luck seeing him on the field a whole lot in 2025. And there are others who think, he's going to be able to play throughout this year. I have not been able to lock anything down. I don't know if you have, but he would certainly be an intriguing, part to the puzzle if he was able to play. And Husker from you says, what was the injury? It was a hip, something with his hip, right?
Yeah, it was a hip. It's a hip thing. I know that they've been really careful with him and that I don't think they're putting a timeline on it because I don't think this is a thing where you want to rush it, right?
Sure.
Because hips are deadly in terms of injuries, and they can really screw you up if you don't take care of it properly. He's getting healthier, is what I've been told. But I don't know. The tight end room I think is really intriguing. I think he's an intriguing prospect. It's just it's one of those things too where they kind of screwed around last year with the whole we're going to put him at wide receiver type deal, and then they kind of switched him back to tight end. And if I'm being honest with you, I didn't really like that. I kind of wish they just put him at tight end and maybe even redshirted him, or it was just like, hey, you're going to be a tight end and we're going to develop your body.
Put some weight on him.
End. Yeah. If they were like, hey, we know that you're dynamic and you probably could play this year, but we need to make sure that you are going to be ready to be this top-notch caliber tight end that we're eventually going to need you to be in 2025, 2026, and 2027. I wish they kind of just hit a slant in a way with him. He'll be an interesting piece. I think there are a lot of interesting pieces on this team, which is good. It's a good
Rather
thing.
have interesting than not interesting, but you just want some answers.
The fact that we can sit here and say, hey, X, Y, and Z, and this and that, and this guy could be good, and this guy could be good, and we're rattling off 9 to 10 different guys means that the talent on this team's healthy. When it comes to talent, Nebraska is in a very healthy place. But when it comes to proven production, they're in a very precarious one.
That's a really good way to put it. I think you could say the floor is high, but the ceiling is low.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah, 1,000,000%. Until
so
someone breaks through the ceiling and is like, holy crap, they're better than I thought they would be. Or, oh my God, for the first time in forever, somebody reached these high, expectations of potential that we have for them.
All right, so 1 through 10 scale, how confident are we that there are difference makers on either side of the ball? And if you want to break this down into, you could do a number for offense, a number for defense, and maybe average that out. Where would you go with this one?
9. I'm at a
Whoa,
9.
really? So you think they're gonna? You think that
There's got to be one. Like that's
can Dane Key
no,
be a 1,000-yard receiver?
Oh yeah, but I don't. He's already played football to the point where it's like I don't know how many more big jumps he has in him.
He's gone from his freshman to last year, 5'19", 636, 715. That's yardage.
Yeah.
His yards per catch has also gone up 14 to 15.1 to 15.2.
I love him. I think he's great.
Yep.
Like immediately as soon as I got him, I've been on the Dane Key, like, holy crap. I think he's going to be like a mid-round draft pick. It's just, I don't know if he's, and I hope he proves me wrong, but I don't know if he's like a first-round guy, because I think that you probably just those kind of traits you would see already, But he is when I call him as a wide receiver. I mean, he's fast, he's physical, he can run really good routes. Like he's shifty. Like he's really good.
D'Lo wants to know, how does he compare to Banks' stats coming into Nebraska?
Oh, he was better.
Last year?
He was better. He had better
and
stats
conference,
than Banks,
right?
And he played in a better conference than Banks. Yeah, for sure. And it's not like Kentucky has had good quarterback play over the last couple of years since they lost Will Levis. So it's actually he's been doing it pretty. Like Dylan Raiola will be the best quarterback that he'll probably have played with.
I mentioned his stats a couple moments ago. In Banks' last year with Wake, 59 catches, 653 yards, 11.1 yards per catch, 4 touchdowns. He had 2 more touchdowns, but his yards per catch were down by 4 yards, and he had fewer yards overall. So, yeah, certainly Key had better production.
I think he is honestly like the one guy on this team that I'm least worried about.
Same.
Like I am very happy with him just lining up and just playing like that's a guy. Like, but the reason why I'm at a 9 is I just think you have Shavers, McGahee, Winery, Pritchett, Riola, Mills, and Barney. Those are 7 young, highly talented guys.
And you didn't even mention Emmett Johnson.
And but these are the 7 that I would be like, okay, one of you has to reach your potential. One of you has to become better, because it's just statistically improbable that one of these 7 dudes doesn't become good. And so I think one of them you'll be like, holy crap, like that guy's a guy. And that's a credit to their recruiting. They've been able to, through the portal and through high school, where they've gotten these kind of blue chip prospects where you're like, all right, like it's there. The body is there. The length is there. The speed is there. Like, so that's why I'm confident. Just one of them has to be good.
Yeah. I think I'm at a 5, and it's just more recent success or lack thereof that I'm just not willing to be super bullish. But I think that maybe I would be more confident in someone really breaking through in 2026 is kind of where I view it.
So let's have this quick combo. This is like, in my mind, this season is about play well enough so you don't have to scramble and be desperate for 2026.
100%. That is the unspoken or rarely spoken about part of this season is that it is the ultimate proof of concept. Time to buy in 2026 type season.
Yes.
If we are having the exact same discussion next year of, can this guy be the guy to help them get to 8 wins? That's not what you want to be asking. You want to say, can this team make the playoff? That's what. And look, I know that some people might listen to that and say, you guys are being ridiculous, but it's going to be year 4. You need to be able to have that conversation next summer.
I'm going to say it because I haven't said it yet, and we haven't gotten to the point on Gary and Matt for me to have said this. This team is a year away. Okay? This program is a year away. How this roster is built, the talent that they have, with how old they are, and the previous, production that they've had. This team is built to be 1 year away. Okay? They need to win 8 games. You need to have guys play a lot of snaps. You have to have guys take big steps so they can all say, all right, We were young last year. We won 8 games. We learned a lot. We all should come back and play for 2026, right?
Yes.
Nobody entered the portal. None of the key guys are in the portal. Let's just go and let's just try and win because this is our chance to make the playoff.
Matt, kind of like a poor man's version of what happened with Ohio State and Michigan the last 2 years, right? Where those guys were like, we're coming back to win a natty. Nebraska, it's let's come back and take that true big time next step.
Yes.
That's, if we're not having that conversation, the Matt Rule era is going in a direction that I don't think people are going to be happy about.
Because
I think that's what it comes down to.
If they go 7-5, right? And this is why I tell people why one game matters so much. Because if they go 8-4, you're like, all right, let's take the next step. Like let's go ahead, let's make the playoff. But if you go 7-5, there are people in that program thinking, all right, has Nebraska really changed? Is this really a place I can win at? And you have Dylan there. What happens if they go 7-5 and then all of a sudden Miami's like, hey, we'll pay you $6 million. What's Dylan gonna want to do? Is Dylan gonna want to continue to be at Nebraska? Or
does he want to go 7-5 again, or does he want to join the players down in Miami?
Does he want to go to Miami, make a crap ton of money? No state income tax, which matters now for college, and you're in the sun, you're hanging out. He's, he can wear all the watches and the chains and everything like that out there, and he'll fit in. He'll look awesome, and then it'll be, he'll be playing with high level talent. Or if you go 8-4 for Nebraska, you're like, come back, man. We can do it. We can make the playoff. You can make a legacy. You can be a hero. You can be the legend that did it. They're a year away, and that's why this year's so important. It's not necessarily this year is so important because they have massive things to accomplish in 2025. This year is so important because they have big things to accomplish in 2026.
100%. Number 4, is the schedule as light on paper as it seems? And this is a callback to every year forever, but in particular last year, because at this time we were like, wow, they could be 6-0 by the time that X, Y, and Z happens. And in the end, Matt, in the first half of the season in 2024, Nebraska would play 3 teams that would finish ranked inside of the AP top 25. Colorado, who finished 25th, Illinois, who finished 16th, Indiana, who finished 10th. And that's not even counting a UCLA team that was better in the back half of the season than they were in the front. The eventual national champions, actually a Wisconsin team that regressed in Iowa, which is always Iowa. So the question now, in terms of 2025, again, going back to K Ford, because he put this up yesterday morning, schedule difficulty rankings, and this is early. We're in June. All 136. Nebraska has the 40th hardest schedule on paper right now. That is behind a bevy of teams in the conference. It's one of the easiest schedules in the Big Ten Conference. On paper, you look at it, of course, they have the Cincinnati game. They don't have a true road game until October the 11th against Maryland. In terms of who they avoid, Ohio State's not on the schedule this year. Oregon is not on the schedule this year. I think if you want to play Michigan, which they're going to play Michigan, you probably want to catch them in September, right? I'd rather play them in September than November. Now they're going to have to play. They're going to have to play Penn State late, and that's going to be a sure loss in my opinion. But on paper, it seems like hey, this isn't too bad of a schedule. And so the question, of course, is it as easy as it seems on paper at this time?
I think I think the schedule is what it is. I think how we think about the schedule is correct. Where it's like, hey, the Penn State, USC, Iowa games are definitely going to be difficult. And Michigan, right? You have 4 games that are going to be difficult. You have 4 games that are going to be, okay, you should win them. And then you have 4 games that should be easy. I think is kind of like how I've broken this up. But I think Maryland and Minnesota are going to be awful this year.
Yeah.
So I feel
we talked about that recently. You're way out on Minnesota.
I feel way better about those games right now, learning what I've learned about those teams, through my prep now than I did when the schedule first came out, right? But I think that Michigan State and Northwestern are going to be better than people are going to recognize, right? I think those will be more difficult games. And so I think that you have teams that, like last year, last year they got unlucky because nobody got worse. Nobody took a step back. There was nobody on the schedule that you thought was going to be good and they ended up being bad. And it was really just everybody you thought was going to be not so good ended up getting a lot better, right? I think this year will even out a little bit more. I think you have teams that maybe you think a little bit higher of that aren't going to play as well. And I think that you have teams that you don't think highly of that are going to play much better. So I think the schedule will even out. But it's, man, like, we got to learn our lesson from last year, because I don't think we really, in this transfer portal era, with all these players going to all these different spots and all this talent constantly moving, it's hard to pinpoint what teams are going to be what.
Yeah, 100%. Shout out to Peter with
insane.
The biggest super chat we have ever received.
Let's go.
$49.99. We're just going to leave it up the rest of the show.
Hell
because
yeah.
I'm just going to put a positive spin. I think we can have a light Legion of Boom 2012. Legion of Boom's D-line was not great. I believe our offense will make a major step forward. Actual OC. Dylan Raiola. 2 wide receivers can separate. 3, a solid O-line. First of all, Peter, wow. Holy shit. Thank you very much. We very much appreciate it. Tough luck that Jack wasn't here for our biggest super chat ever, but shout out to you, Matt.
I'm gonna hold him to it. You're like, I bring in the dollars. I bring in the dollars.
Royals girl in the Discord says, "Holy shit, Peter, join the club." Yeah, Peter, we would just love to have you. Patreon.com/I80 Club, and for just $8 a month, which would be that's 6 months. You just did 6 months worth. Hop on over. We'd love to have you. Patreon.com/I80 Club. Now, back into our Discord server. D'Lo writes, "We do this every year." But, Matt, I just want to say, you and I are not doing this every year. We are not doing it right now. We are saying, is it as easy as it seems on paper? My answer will be probably not, because it's never as easy as it seems on paper.
It's, Josh, this is your worst point on the article, okay?
Oh!
And the reason I say it to you is, I don't know. I have no clue. You know, you're right in asking it, because it has been a commonality. You are totally right in being concerned about this, because it's happened to Nebraska like the last couple of years, where it seems like, all right, you think you're going to get these wins on paper, and then these teams turn out to be better than you anticipated. At the same time, it's just so damn hard to be like yes or no. I think the more likely answer is it's going to be harder, because there's just a lot of talent in the Big Ten. But it's not as if, regardless if teams are better, if they take that next step, there's still a lot of winnable games. Like, even if Maryland is better than we think they're going to be, they still should beat them. What?
Saying there's a lot of winnable games.
There are.
I'm afraid.
Even if Michigan State is better than we think, even if Northwestern is better than we think, even if UCLA is better than you think, you still should be in competitive games against them. You still should be able to, like, win those games and be victorious, okay? For a multitude of different reasons. So I don't.
So on a 1 to 10 scale, where are you? Like, and I'm trying to figure out how to phrase it. So is 10?
10 is
actually
like
easier.
Oh, I don't think it matters then, because I'm at a 5.
Okay.
I think. No, I did. No, I'll change that. I'm at a 4. I think.
So you say it will be harder?
It'll be a little bit harder than we think, but it won't be like, we won't look back.
It's not going to be a 1.
Like,
it's not going to be like, oh
no,
my gosh,
they got murderers row. But I do think that it's going to be harder.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of true college football playoff contenders, I think they have 2 of them. I think they have Michigan and they have Penn State. And then there's other teams if I squint hard, I can kind of see that team maybe making it into the playoff. That's like Iowa. But otherwise, I don't think,
No.
Other than that, I don't think they have any playoff contenders on their schedule.
Because that's what I'm saying. Like, even if some
I guess
of these
USC.
teams,
If I squint really hard, I guess I could say
not.
USC.
No.
I said if I squint really hard.
You are lying. You don't like USC this year.
I don't.
You're lying to yourself.
Yeah. Maybe not.
Iowa.
Maybe not.
Iowa, you can say but I don't like Iowa this year.
Nice. So they'll inevitably beat Nebraska 8-7 for some stupid reason. I can't wait for that game.
Because of
and everyone will say, "Where should this rank in the Groin Kick Chronicles? Where would you put this?"
Oh, are you nervous about that? Are you nervous about this year, where every time they lose a game, someone is going to tweet at you, being like facetious and be like, "Where does this rank in the Groin Chronicles?"
No, I'm kind of excited because I have the graphic template going and I have all the numbers now. I can just plug everything right in there.
Sicko.
I do what I can. We'll tease the Groin Kick Chronicles again before we leave. And actually, you know what?
So I'm in the commentary part of it.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Great stuff.
Thank you.
I found myself like listening to the pod and being like, oh, I remember where I was at for that game. Like the Casey Thompson injury game, I was in the press box. And I saw that happen. I'll never forget it because his elbow just right
remember that
there.
ball just fluttered.
Well, you know what? But you know what people forget? He had an out route to Trey Palmer that was wide open the play before that he just sailed over.
Yes,
his head.
thank you. Oh my gosh, I didn't even mention that in the Chronicles. Good reminder, dude.
And if he hits that pass, they're within they're on like the 7-yard line and they just run the ball in. You know?
Yeah.
If he just, it was a great route and he was wide open and he just completely missed it.
Well, and D'Lo points out the Ramir drop. Remember Ramir Johnson dropped it? Yep. Speaking of the Chronicles, point number 5, can Nebraska finally close games out? Here, I'll just read from my column. Here are the margin of defeat Matt Rule's teams have taken in the 13 losses. 3, 22, 38, 3, 3, 7 in overtime, 3, 7 in overtime, 49, 4, 7, 8, 3. That is 3 losses by double digits, and the other 10 games have come by a combined 48 points. So you're talking about 4.8 points per game. I mean, really, and get ready. Over the course of the Chronicles, a lot of Matt Rule games rank very, very highly. Like, dude, they are still playing similar football to what they did at the end of the Frost era, where it's like, how did they lose that stupid game? They have 3 wins in games that were decided by 1 touchdown or less. Northwestern in year 1, Rutgers last year, Boston College in the bowl game. That is it. Can they close games out? Or, Matt, the other way that I described it, can they win games by double digits? You know, like, how do you not lose 1-score games? You don't play in 1-score games. Can they get up by on teams? Like, I always bring up Illinois in year 1 and Purdue in year 1 because in the second half of those games, they were the offense especially was a tire fire. They kept turning the ball over and giving it back, but every time that the defense went on the field, they had a 2-score lead. And I do think that ended up helping them because a touchdown wouldn't have been a backbreaker and they wouldn't have lost. Whereas Minnesota year 1, Maryland year 1, Iowa year 1, Iowa year 2, like all of those other times that they lost games when the defense went on the field needing a stop, it was either tied or they were up by 3 points or whatever, and they failed. So how do you win 1-score games? Don't play in them. But when they're in them, can they actually close some of these games out? Oh, Matt, did you mute yourself? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I did.
There we go.
I made fun of the whole chasing 3 thing because I'm like, why the hell are we chasing 3? You should be chasing 25, right? Like you should be like this.
Also, they lost games by 3. You should be chasing 4.
Let's talk about this too. Let's talk about the dichotomy of Kurt Signetti and Matt Rule. Okay? Because Kurt Signetti walks into his locker room, and no matter who they're playing, he tells his team, you're going to kick their ass. You are better than this team. You are going to go in there. You're going to run them over. They could be playing whomever. He says, you are going to murder this team because we prepared you to murder this team, and you're better than this team. Could be playing Mary Seat of the Blind. Could be playing Ohio State. That's Kurt Signetti's message. And his players are delusional enough where they believe in. They go, we are going to kick their ass. We are going to go out there. We are going to.
Well, then they started doing it.
And then they did it. Where you have Matt Rule who tells his team, hey, this game's going to come down to 1 play, okay? Like this, we're going to be in a fight. We're going to be in a war. This is going to be a 1-score game. Somebody's livelihood is going to come down to this 1 play, and is it going to be you who's going to make it, right?
Yep.
Who would you rather be hearing? Like, what message would you rather be hearing? Hey, like this game really only matters for 3 plays, and you got to make sure that you're going to make one of those 3 plays or we're going to lose this game. Or, hey, you're just better and you're going to win, okay? Like,
it's an excellent point.
I've always had that problem with them being like, it's going to be a 1-score game and it's going to be really tight because then you have guys who have football PTSD from losing all these 1-score games who get like nervous about it, who get like a little puckered about it, who are like holding out of the wheel as tight as they can because they're like, oh my God, we don't want to blow another one, right? Credit to Sig. Sig goes and goes, no, you're better than this game. You're going to win. So I want to go back, though, real quick to a game that gets forgotten a lot, 2023 Wisconsin. Chuba Purdy game. They lose in overtime.
Yep.
And
they're up 14-0.
That game was the dawn of Matt Rule may not be good at managing a clock. Okay?
Because it was remember, it was the week after the Maryland loss.
Yes. And he in the Wisconsin game, he used his timeouts terribly, and they could have easily had 2 more shots in the end zone before overtime, right? But they kick the field goal, they go to OT, they lose. Now, a lot of people took that as Rule doesn't know how to manage a clock. I took that as Matt Rule doesn't trust his team enough to not turn the ball over in this situation, and he's just going to manage the clock in the way where they're going to take a shot at the end zone, but we're really going to go into overtime. And to me, it was an indication that he didn't trust his offense to win a game. I think now he has recruited and he's gotten players to where he should be able to trust the offense and trust them to close out games like that. Where at a certain point, if you just get guys who are good enough, you're just going to have guys who close out the game, who win the game. So I think they're way more well suited to close out games now than they were previously, but they still have to go out there and execute it.
Yeah. This one, in terms of a 1 to 10, 10 being they're going to figure it out, 2 or 1 being they're not going to. I think I just kind of gave away my answer. I'm a 2. I just need to see it. I just need to, Matt. I need to see it. I need to see it happen. I need to see them win these games. I need to see them make plays. I need to see them not pucker. I need to see the defense make stops. Matt says, "Are you guys going to talk about the impact of special teams being improved?" Yeah, all of that stuff can play into it, but I need to see it.
They don't have, though. Okay, special teams. Everyone's like, Mike Eckler's going to come in here and he's going to fix the special teams. We don't know who the kicker is. We don't know who the punter is. We don't know who the punt returner is. We don't know who the kick returner is. We don't. Like,
a lot of questions.
There's no set spots on the special teams. If Mike Eckler wasn't the coordinator, we'd all be crapping ourselves about this special teams is probably going to be bad again. Because they don't have any of the pieces.
You and I talked about it, the OBV. The hope with the special teams is that they have improvement this year, and then that you believe going into 26 that they can become an actual difference maker in the affirmative. That's what we're hoping for. I'm a 2.
I'm going to put myself at a 5.
5. Okay.
I think that they have the talent, the coaching, the pieces to close out some one-score games. Not all of them, but some of them. Like, so there was 5 one-score games last year that they lost?
Yes.
Okay. So they
went last year, they went counting the bowl game, 2 and 5 in one-score games.
Okay. So I think this year they're likely to go 3 and 4.
That's the goal, right? Go 500 in one-score games.
Yeah, or 4.
Go 500 in one-score games.
Like, I think they can. I think they have the pieces, like just the total pieces when it comes to players and coaches, and maybe even attitude to be like, okay, we can get one more win. They're not going to be the Chiefs, and just close all of them out. There's going to be a groin kick this year. There's going to be a game where you're like, it's going to be absolutely heartbreaking.
Nothing has changed.
And you're going to be like, man, this kind of ruined the year. Like it put a bad taste in your mouth heading into 2026. But the hope is that it put a bad taste in your mouth because you should be 9 and 3 and not 8 and 4, as opposed to being 7 and 5 to 6 and 6.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so I think we were around the same numbers on almost all of them, and usually the numbers were pretty much right in the middle. So I don't know what that tells us. Are we confident ultimately in them being able to do the things they need to do to take the next step?
I'm in the 7 and 5 and 4 camp right now.
Yeah, I don't think I'm at 7 and 5.
I don't know. I'm playing. I'm like fighting it right now. Because the negative Nancy in me and the this is Nebraska football wants to say they're going to be 7 and 5. Mm-hmm. And not that I'm not saying that you're a negative Nancy. I think that you can make a great argument for 7 and 5. But then there is the other part of me where I do believe things are different, and I do believe things have changed, and I do trust this team way more than I have the last couple of years. So
Interesting.
I'm fighting it. I don't know where I'm going to be at.
Well, you got 2 months. You got 2 months to figure it out. 2 months and a week to figure it out. And
but I don't want to. I don't want to hear it. I don't think they're winning. I like 9 games is doable, but they would have to check a lot of boxes that they haven't checked off before to do that, and that would be really impressive.
Yeah, it certainly would. Matt, this was awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Where can people find you if they're like, ooh, I like this Matt guy. I would like to hear him more.
At Matt McMedia, MattMcMedia is my Twitter. Go ahead, give me a follow there. I'm always tweeting about random stuff.
Nice.
Is that your dog in the background?
Yeah,
Banks.
He's humping right now.
He's such.
He is. I love the dog, but my God, he does not like it when I'm podcasting. And so he had been hanging out with Riss all morning. She just left, and so she put him in here, and then he immediately started humping his bed. So it's for the best that the podcast is coming to a close.
It's his home. It's his home, and you're just living in it. But
I certainly am.
Matt McMedia, MattMcMedia. Come and give me a follow. Gary Matt Show every morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Go ahead, give us a listen on 1620 The Zone.
Da-na-na. And you'll be on today?
Yeah, I will be on today. 1620 The Zone. Me and Gary Sharp doing the Omaha Baseball Village show, leading you into LSU versus Coastal Carolina, Game 1 of the College World Series on the home of the College World Series, 1620 The Zone.
Nice.
That should be a riot. That should be something. So we'll.
And then you and I back tomorrow. We'll be on at 10 a.m. until 1:15, I believe, is when we'll log off. So we'll be on tomorrow.
Yeah, brother. Can't wait for it. Will be fun.
Yep.
Thank you so much for having me on. It'll be a good time, man. I-80 Club debut. Look forward to making a couple more of these appearances.
Thanks for joining us. A couple things real fast. I texted Jack a screenshot of Peter's super chat. He says, "What in the world?" So that's good stuff. Again, thank you to Peter for the super chat. If you would like to join us moving forward, if you like, this thing was pretty fun, we would love to have you. Patreon.com/ID Club. Jack and I do at least 2 pods almost every week, because I guess we did take off last week because of the College World Series and Jack was on vacation, but we do 2 pods most week, and as we get closer to the season, those numbers are going to be bumped up even more. We have Groin Kick Chronicle episodes coming out each and every Thursday morning. 5 days from now, we will have games 60 through 51. We're doing bonus pods around it. I'll be doing an interview with a play-by-play announcer that was involved in some of these games. We'll be doing Be Kind Husker Rewind episodes and so much more. We'll also be taking some of your groin kick stories. We'll be doing that at some point. Jack and I are going to plan that out, and so there will be a lot of participation as well. And again, we would love to have you at patreon.com/I80 Club. Matt, again, thank you very much. Enjoy your radio shows today.
Thank you. I'm going back to bed. I will.
All righty. Jack and I will talk to everybody on Wednesday. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.